Voyager 2, the second of NASA's iconic twin interstellar probes, which were sent into space in 1977, had long since entered the space exploration history books. For almost a half-century, this stalwart spacecraft traveled increasingly distant from where it was born, sending flows of information into the great dark sea of the universe. It was an emissary of humanity, our far-flung ambassador, voicing quietly for Earth. It revealed to us Uranus and Neptune for the first time up close. It crossed the heliosphere border in 2018, entering interstellar space, and kept offering us hints about the great unknown. But it recently changed its tune. Changed its tune from a whisper to something else. Something sinister. The last message wasn't goodbye. It wasn't a gradual decline of the signal as systems slowly failed. It was a harsh, immediate break. A mysterious, condensed burst of data so bizarre it undermined the assurance of the scientific community. And now many wonder, did Voyager 2 stumble upon something not only unknown, but intelligent? For centuries, the region outside the solar system had been pictured as quiet, frigid, and barren. The interstellar medium, comprised of dust, gas, and charged particles, is thin, passive, and, by all measures, dull. Researchers anticipated witnessing alterations as Voyager 2 cruised outside the Sun's jurisdiction, increased levels of galactic cosmic rays, lower temperatures, unfamiliar directions of magnetism. And initially, that's what they observed. Plasma density readings varied as anticipated. The probe registered changes in the direction of magnetic fields, ascertaining exit from the heliopause. There were occasional aberrations, peculiar troughs in particle speeds, unanticipated burst transmissions of noise, faint firmware malfunctions in telemetry. But these were always rationalized: wear and tear on hardware, interference in signals, sun background radiation. Until they weren't. It started quietly. Over a period of months, Voyager 2's engineering telemetry reported anomalies in its power consumption. These weren't precipitous increases or decreases, but rhythmic oscillations, almost as if it was breathing. The internal heaters would come on and off in cycles that bore no relation to environmental cues. The magnetic field measurements, once stable, began to register pulsing variations. Levels of cosmic rays would spike occasionally in tight, localized waves, as if something was concentrating energy towards the spacecraft. Engineers initially presumed degradation. Voyager 2, after all, was far beyond its design life. It was joked that the probe was getting old and dreaming. But then came the change in transmissions. During a standard downlink contact, Voyager 2 returned an unscheduled data burst that was not structured in accordance with its pre-programmed cycles. The message, received by the Canberra Deep Space Communication Complex in Australia, came as a compressed, haphazard series of binary pulses. Initially, it appeared to be a garbled file. But when analysts ran the data through Voyager's original 1970s-era decoding framework, something unusual occurred. Patterns. Rhythm. Structure. The readings weren't nonsense. They included telemetry never before encountered, abrupt and vast increases in particle velocity, localized temperature signatures in electromagnetic spectra, and structural vibration records from the spacecraft's chassis. These vibrations were not random. They were a modulated wave pattern, peaking and troughing in harmonically repeating intervals. Essentially, Voyager 2 had started to vibrate. To be exact, its structure recorded harmonics, such as if it had been hit by a force that oscillated, or worse still, was ringing with an extraneous signal. And that signal, according to waveform simulation, was nearly musical in nature. Not in tone or pitch, mind you, but in order. The harmonics were mathematical intervals more commonly occurring in human music than any natural astrophysical phenomenon. Engineers attempted to rule out cosmic causes, pulsars, gamma-ray bursts, ion waves, but they didn't fit the bill. That was when the rumors started. Behind closed doors and locked-up calls among NASA, JPL, and outside researchers, the rumor broke out: Voyager 2 had run into something. And something had taken notice. The final burst of the probe, 14.2 seconds long, contained a sudden thermal spike, over 400% above normal. Temperature sensors were built into the probe to withstand the cold of space, and yet they detected a narrowband burst of heat as if something had come close. Not radiation. Contact. Suddenly, the reading ceased. No fade out. No sputter. Silence. Takes to try to restore contact immediately. All protocols known were tried: system shutdowns, secondary frequencies, low-frequency signal bongs across the entire radio spectrum. Nothing. Voyager 2 was lost. It hadn't wandered out of range. Its systems hadn't just failed. It was isolated, as if something had severed it, or maybe taken it away. Probes don't die like this. When power loss occurs in deep space probes, their signals decay slowly. The carrier wave fades, telemetry gets scrambled, and ultimately, the spacecraft goes into silent hibernation. Not Voyager 2. Its last transmission was full power, fully encoded, and intentional. Then, nothing. A digital vanishing act. The impact on the scientific community was seismic. Some scientists proposed exotic space weather in the form of an unexplained plasma field or marauding interstellar current. Others referred to equipment malfunction, bursts of radiation, or collision with space debris. But none of these explained the data. Not the beat. Not the oscillations. Not the abrupt cutoff. And so new explanations arose. Others wondered whether Voyager 2 could have detected a boundary, a threshold of interstellar space constructed not by nature, but by design. A sort of sentry network, dormant in the emptiness, prepared to be activated. Others suggested that it would be left behind functioning alien beacons, which after millennia would activate upon Voyager's passage as one would react to a tripping wire. A spookier hypothesis picked up steam, that Voyager 2 had traveled through an area of silence, a region of space intentionally avoided by some civilization in order to listen in on the galaxy. Our small, courageous probe could have broken that peace. And something replied. If this sounds like science fiction, remember, we're dealing with territory utterly unexplored. Voyager 2 is over 133 Australian dollars, astronomical units, from Earth, more than 20 billion kilometers. In that vast stretch, any anomaly at all, is unprecedented. And this was no minor glitch. It was structured. It was final. Now, the implications are rippling out. Some scientists advocate for caution. They argue that humanity has been reckless, broadcasting our presence through radio waves, sending physical messages aboard spacecraft like Voyager's Golden Record, and attempting contact with whoever or whatever might be out there. Maybe, they suggest, the universe wasn't silent because it was empty. Maybe it was quiet because everyone was hiding. Others regard this as a new frontier. They believe that Voyager 2 might have grazed the edge of something very significant, evidence that we are not alone. That intelligence, however old and dormant, remains out there beyond the stars. They clamor for new missions, follow-up explorers, superior equipment, and maybe even more speed-lethal ships to cover interstellar space within human lifetimes. Even these zealots are careful what they say these days. Voyager 2 was not hardware alone. It had the hopes of humanity on board. It included greetings in 55 languages, music from across the world, pictures of life on Earth, and a plaintive message: we are here. It was an act of peace and curiosity. But what if it had been read differently? What if, in the eyes of some distant intellect, Voyager 2 was a breach, not a gift? Astronomers used to think that if there were alien life, it would be good or, at worst, neutral. But Voyager 2's silence has redefined that. It's not a question of evil. It's one of unpredictability. When we launched our signal into space, we never really thought about what laws we might be violating. Not political, not cultural, cosmic. Today, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory engineers still scan the heavens for any return signal. The Deep Space Network still listens in. The most recent data packet from Voyager 2 is now a digital artifact, studied by physicists and mathematicians and cryptographers and even artists attempting to find meaning in the impossible. But there is nothing there. Only a chilling, intentional silence that sounds not empty, but vigilant. Around the globe, organizations are reconsidering our method of deep space exploration. Do we keep transmitting? Do we hide our planetary existence, as some animals become immobile when faced with the presence of a predator? Has our desire attracted notice we can't understand? Voyager 2 was one time a testament to hope. Today, it could be a caution. In the stillness of the night, under radio telescopes sweeping the heavens like old sentinels, a question remains. What replied Voyager 2? And most importantly, what is it asking for? Until we find out, we stare at the stars not only with awe, but with watchfulness.